Okay, so we have to take this cover back off so we can see the timing mark on the crank. Careful not to damage the gasket. Okay, so what the manual calls for is to point the T mark, which is this one right here, to this crack in the case where the two case half joins right there. Hopefully you can see that. I'm trying to mark it. So anyway, we're turning the T mark to meet the line right there, which should be top dead center on piston 1. Right there. So you can see the T is lined up with the mark. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and reinstall the cam gears. We already have the timing set to there. We have the timing of the cam set up there. When installing the camshaft sprockets, start with the exhaust camshaft. Be sure to keep the cam chain tight as possible. So we'll start with the exhaust one. So sometimes this takes a few trial and error kind of times. So right now you can see I have it quite a bit forward, too far forward. And we'll try again right here. Pretty close, but not quite. I accidentally turned the engine there. You're gonna be careful not to do that. So that's gonna be the spot right there. So I'll go ahead and put these, or this bolt back in, because I can't get to the bottom one yet. Now I'll do the other one. Also, if you can see here, there's a hole that goes with the hole on the camshaft. Again, try to keep this tight as possible. And I'll put one in for the back there too. Make sure it's all the way on, unlike that one wasn't. And there we have it, and our cams are timed. Get a slight snug there. Okay, so next we're going to install the cam chain tensioner. It's pretty easy. Like when it comes out, it's going to look probably about like that, kind of sprung out. So all you have to do is get a little small screwdriver, turn clockwise until you get it all the way in, and it'll kind of stick there. Of course, get your new gasket. Okay, so the cam chain tensioner has a mark that says up on one side and the other side does not say up. So it goes that way. Let's go ahead and pre-thread these bolts in. They're going to be 8mm bolts, also torqued down to 10 Newton meters. So now we'll get the screwdriver back in there and make sure it's released. See the tension starting to come out. I'll go ahead and just give it some more going out to kind of help. There we go. And then let me get a new washer gasket for this cap and put that back on there. Remember, always use new copper crush washers for these things. So that's going to go to 12 Newton meters. Okay, so up next we just need to reinstall the cover right here. I finally got them back from powder coat. They did a pretty good job of matching the color, so I guess we'll see how that looks out in the sun. But first up, we need to put this new gasket on and go from there. See, it looks like there might be a little more sparkling in there than there was on the original color, but can't win them all. So next I'll just start most of these bolts. Okay, so these bolts are going to be torqued down to 12 Newton meters. So go ahead and get my torque wrench set. Okay, and we're done. Okay, so up next we're going to be reinstalling the new clutch. Always remember when you're installing a new clutch to soak it in oil first. The first thing to go on is this, it's called a spring seat. It's what the clutch spring sits on. That just simply slides on there. Make sure it goes all the way back. Up next goes on, or is the clutch spring. I usually put the edge that's outward and inward back towards the clutch spring seat. Alright, so when you're installing your clutch, of course always remember to soak it in oil first, but follow the directions when you're installing it. There's one, usually almost always one, that has a little bit thinner than the rest of the clutches. That's to go over that spring back there. So this particular clutch is actually color coded. There's different thicknesses disc that go into it. There's some thinner ones here at the back. I'm not sure why Yamaha did that, but that's just the way this clutch is. So we're gonna stick with that. So you can see this one has a little blue mark on it right there. That's just telling you which order they go in. Okay, up next we need to install the pressure plate. So you'll notice there's a little dot right here. I'm not sure if you can see that, hopefully you can. And there's a little dot right here on the pressure plate. Oh, there we go, dot. So these need to be lined up, just like that. Alright, then of course we just put our springs in, doesn't matter which way they go. Oh, almost forgot. Not sure what you call it. The thing that pulls the clutch out needs to go on. So I like to start these by hand to make sure there's no issues. And then I tighten them down in a crisscross pattern all the way down till they're tight. So like I said, I'm not going to do it all at once. I'm going to go across in a crisscross pattern. These bolts are going to get tightened down to 8 Newton meters, and we're going to use the same crisscross pattern. Okay, so the last step here is we're going to install the cover. You got to make sure that this gets into the right spot, so it needs to be kind of that way. Then on your cover, if you look in here, you can see there's like a bigger part and a smaller part. The smaller part's the one that grabs it, so you got to get that in there. It's not the easiest thing. Okay, so once you get it on there, you want to make sure it's grabbing right there and pulling the cover inward. If it's not pulling the cover inward, then it's not on there right. So up next, we'll go ahead and put the bolts back in. and put the clutch cable holder on. These two bolts are just a little bit longer. These all are going to be torqued down to 12 Newton meters. Okay guys, so with that, the core motor is finished, and up next is going to be adjusting stuff and finishing some stuff. Some of the things that need to be done are the valves need to be adjusted, the intake ports or intake boots here, not sure if you can see those, need to be ported out, and the carburetors need to be rebuilt. So those are the big three main things that still need to be done, and we'll get to those next.